Hey everyone, I want to talk to you about research in computing. And I was thinking about the title for this presentation. I started off by thinking about introduction to research, and then I wanted to call it demystify research. There is some amount of misconceptions and some kind of wrong ideas about research that exists out there. So I thought maybe what I'm trying to do here is kind of demystify research. And then the more I think about it, I thought about it, I wanted to kind of call it demystify and inspire research. So the goal I'm trying to accomplish here through this presentation is, at the end of this presentation, I want to convince you that it's important for you to understand and develop research skills, right? There's a collection of skills that kind of form this package, what I would call research skills. And I want to convince you that it's really important that you practice them. Right, start developing them when you are in college, irrespective of your career objectives. Right, so that's the kind of key here. There is sometimes students think that I'm not going to be in research, or I'm not going to go to grad school. So research is not it's orthogonal to my career interest. I'm planning to go into the industry, work as a software engineer. So research is not necessary, and that's not true. Irrespective of what you plan to do after college, I think you should really carefully consider and cultivate your research skills. Right, so that's what I'm hoping to convince you by the end of this presentation. When I was trying to look up kind of information about what do I mean by research, how should I talk about research, there's kind of two quotes I saw that really made sense to me, and I want to talk to you about it. The first one is this research is formalized curiosity. It is poking and prying with purpose. The use of the word curiosity here makes so much sense to me. I'm sure you have heard that everybody we should develop our curiosity, kind of explore things that we are interested in. And it seems to me curiosity is research is curiosity in action. Right, you're curious about something. Having research skills will help you put that curiosity into action. There's a kind of a formalized process for it. There's an approach for it that you can develop and develop some new knowledge out of it, right? And the other quote I saw is research is creating new knowledge, which makes sense. And so you're curious about something, you want to learn more about it, and there is a process that you use by which you approach figure out the questions that are coming out of that curiosity. Formalize the question, formalize how you are going to, what approach are you going to take, how you are going to collect data. And then you generate some new knowledge through that process, right? That's what I mean by research. It doesn't have to be too formalized. You don't have to think about it as only academic research, right? Kind of publishing papers or, developing patents, which of course it could be that. But at its core, it is about kind of answering some question for which we don't know the answer by creating some new knowledge, and the starting point for it is curiosity, right? Kind of start with curiosity, go through a process, and then kind of generate new knowledge, right? So that's how I would say what research means and how you should think about research. And this point here, right, it's relevant to all careers. In doesn't matter whether you go into grad school and do a PhD, or work at a research lab, or you work as a software engineer, or any other jobs for that matter. In every job, we want to bring curiosity to see how things could be better, how some things work, how what kind of improvements will result to better results for us. And that curiosity, you should be able to not just be curious, but put it into action and produce some new ways of doing things and new ways of solving some problems and produce some new knowledge. That's relevant to every career, right? Doesn't matter what career you are going to be in. Another kind of approach by which you can think about why this is relevant to your career, whatever career you want to be in. We talked about personal value proposition, PVT in prior modules. And if you think about PVP, it's basically the intersection of the answers to three questions that you should ask, right? What motivates you? How do you add value? What skills do you bring to the table? And what are employers looking for, right? You kind of draw this Venn diagram, and your personal value proposition kind of lies in this space, right? And I hope it's reasonably obvious that you want to increase this area, right? You make this area bigger, that means your personal value is bigger. It gives you more options, right? You can go in different directions. So in order to make that central area bigger, you want to figure out, you want to try to figure out more things that motivate you, right? And curiosity is a good starting point. When we are curious about things, it's because we care about it usually, and exploring things that we are curious about and kind of trying to find answers to that means like things that motivate you, this circle will become bigger, right? Adding research skills to your portfolio, right? You are not just doing things based on existing knowledge, but I can figure new things out, new ways of doing things, new scope to the problem, right? Like if I can do that, that means this circle is going to be bigger. That means I bring more value to the table, and particularly in this new era of like generative AI, with like kind of things that generative AI is able to do, coming up with new ways of doing things and kind of figuring out new scope for the problem that is going to serve more people. That kind of skills are going to be really helpful, and employees are going to be more and more looking for it, right? Employees are going to be looking for not just someone who can do things based on existing information and existing knowledge, which many of those things, generative AI might be able to help and be able to do based on what it is trained on. While kind of being more creative and exploring our curiosity to come up with new ways of doing things is really going to be something that employees are going to look for, and you will have that. So you will have that by developing that skill. So investing at least some amount of effort in cultivating your research ability, right, research skills, is going to help you grow this. That means it's going to open more doors for you, right? You're going to have more options in your career. You're going to be able to pick the kind of things that you want to work on, things that are going to give you more meaning and purpose, because it's something that you are interested in and you are good at, and there is kind of demand for it, right? That's why I think like you want to explore this. And one other thing I want to remind you, I don't know if you remember from an earlier video, right? Like you could say like, research thinking is another type of thinking. People don't necessarily use research thinking as a terminology, but still, it's how we use our thought processes to do something. And there are different types of thinking, right? Like critical thinking, analytical thinking, numerical thinking. Each of those things require practice, right? And we use the analogy of like throwing a ball. The more different ways you know how to throw the ball, like the more competitive you are going to be, right? In the world of sports, let's say. So whether depending on which sports you have to kind of practice in each of them. And we used that analogy in a prior video to talk about like kind of thinking also, right? We all know how to think to some extent, and we all know how to do, kind of apply our thinking process to kind of get some things, accomplish some things. But the more types of thinking that we practice at depth and with high quality, the more like kind of, the spectrum of skills that we are going to have, like that we are going to be more competitive for opportunities, right? So remember personal value proposition from our previous topic, and remember all thinking is not the same, right? Keep those two things in mind, and realize that developing research skills is going to help you kind of develop that middle part of your personal value proposition. So in conclusion, the takeaway here is research skill is a transferable skill. They also use the term kind of boundary crossing skill that will position you for success in the era of generative AI, right? Like with the kind of technology that's coming up, we want to improve our toolbox. We want to have more tools in our toolbox. And I think research skill is an important tool that's going to be very helpful in making you competitive, right? I hope I've convinced you on the goal I've set. We'll talk about like kind of opportunities for you to develop this skill, like kind of what kind of examples where you can apply that skill. Like we can talk about those things in future modules. But I hope you are really internalizing the importance of like kind of don't close the door on opportunities that will help you learn, cultivate, and practice your research skill. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.